Alright, Dwarf, here's the plan. We're gonna go in. We're gonna steal all the honing materials so that we can get up to plus 15. I need these two dwarf children to put on these masks and hold on, whoa. Hi, we're here to talk about skill trees today. Yes, totally not doing anything nefarious. So, you may have noticed once you've hit tier 3 that when you drop anything from the Chaos Dungeons, they now have this skill tree effect at the bottom of them. I highly recommend don't bust down all your gear after a Chaos Dungeon. You're so used to doing that from the previous tiers, but you don't want to do that now. Now it is actually a source of player power. I have mail. Don't worry about that. We'll get to it later. So, you're going to go to the skill tree vendor, transfer skill tree, and it's got this little symbol here. Up in the top right, you can see on my mini map, it's got the yellow, green, and blue symbol. When you go here, you're going to have the gear that you have equipped will always be at the top, and then all those other pieces are going to be in my inventory, or like this symbol here is that it's in my storage, and you can transfer those skills over onto your gear. So you can see this helmet that I have, I've already done some upgrades, moved some things around, and I have these 3 abilities. So these are referring to the tripods that are on your ability. So if I go to Surge Cannon, which is the one we were looking at there, I specifically like my build for bosses to use Piercing Shot, Overcharge, and Focus Fire. You can see how they show level 2. That's because in the skill tree on this helmet, I have put on those 3 abilities at a level 1. So it means it increases it by 1 level. Now, if you want to increase this by 2 levels, you need to have a piece of gear from the Chaos Dungeon drop with that effect, and you would move it over onto it. So I'm just going to use a dummy piece of gear here and kind of show how you would do that. So let's say this is your first piece of gear in tier 3. It has low shock and quick pace on it, and I'm going to select this piece of gear, and you know what? I've decided that I want Law of the Jungle on there. So we're going to click in the bottom here, or if for some reason you don't care about having this fully filled, there's no reason not to fill it up because you can have 3 skills equipped and there's no penalty. So if I wanted to change shield charge, the quick pace, I could move it over like that. Now, level 1s always have a 100% success rate. Level 2s, though, are a 30%. Now, you may have seen this powder of sage that you've gotten while leveling up. There's another powder that when you dismantle it, it turns into powder of sage. It's like a tier 2 powder. I don't know why they did it that way, because this is the only time you can use this. Maybe it's an old system that just kind of got grandfathered. But if you use one of those, you can double the rate, so it goes up to 60%. Now, I'm not going to waste that because this is just an example, and this stuff is not exactly common. You can get it through crafting in your stronghold, and certain raids and stuff will actually drop that. So, if I want to move over the level, let's do the level 1 first as the example, and I'm just going to move it here. So, we hit transfer, it's going to cost you a bunch of silver, so we're starting to have more silver sinks in tier 3, and now it's going to say, hey, that piece of gear is going to get destroyed when you do this, the one that's being transferred into it. So the one on the left is always the one you're transferring into. The one on the right is the one that will be destroyed to do this process and gain this skill. So we do OK, and you'll see that it says transferring. It has that little animation because if you had that 30% chance one, it could fail. Now, if it fails, it still destroys the piece of gear. You just don't get the skill on there. So you can see that it's been transferred over. And now I have those 3 abilities on here. Now, if I wanted to overwrite, we could grab this one. And you could overwrite, say, I don't want quick pace, I want last charge, and I want level 2. Now, I have a 30% chance here. So if it succeeds, it will replace it. If it fails, it will not replace it, and it will not destroy this one. It will stay the exact same. So let's just see what happens. We don't want to use that. So you can see this one's 9,000 silver. So the higher the level, it actually costs more. So again, more silver sinks. You think you have a lot of silver until you hit tier 3 and you have all these extra systems. So now we're going to try that and see. So we failed. So you can see it still retains all 3 abilities. So we don't lose anything for it. You just didn't get that skill that you wanted. Now, if you're like me, you get a lot of chaos gear and you don't want to sit here and click on each one and go, well, which abilities do I want? You might notice this little symbol here on the top right corner of each of these pieces of gear, and it even shows in your inventory whenever you have this next system. So you can save the abilities that you like. So if your build has 3 specific abilities on each skill that you want to upgrade, you can click on settings when you're in your skill menu here, and it's going to change it over to this menu. You can see how I'm tracking different abilities. So at the very bottom underneath the skill, you have this little symbol. It's grayed out if you're not tracking it, and it's highlighted if you are tracking it. So if I want to start tracking quick prep, I can just turn that on. And now any piece of gear that has quick prep on it, it will show it. And you can see that again in my inventory. I've got Nalasia's Energy Survive is tracked. This one here, I have Leap Attack is tracked via Electric Field. So you can easily identify items that you want to keep, so you can bust down the ones you don't want, all these ones for instance. Now, this can get a little bit complicated to manage depending on how you want to have your set, right? So it's you only have these 6 pieces of gear, so you're probably going to choose maybe 3 upgrades per skill. If you're like me, I'm a little bit OCD, so I put all my Surge Cannon on one, I put all of my Shield Bashes on this one, and I've got a Shield Charge on here, but it's going to get subbed out. So you can organize this whichever way you want. However, we have the second menu here called Inventory. If you click on that, you now have a storage for these abilities. So if you're going to switch to a new piece of gear, so like I got this Sunset Helm, and to switch to it, the Sunset Helm, it rolled with a bunch of really junky things, right? So I had worked so hard to get these 3 abilities that I wanted on it, I didn't want to lose them. And that's where this comes in. So you can, from the piece of gear, so you can click on the gear, it goes in here and it shows you the abilities. You can save it over into your inventory. I'm actually going to go to the second slot here, which is mostly blank, and show you that. So if you hit save in inventory, it's going to make a copy of them into the inventory, all 3 that are there. Now, if I was switching to the Sunset Helm, so if I went and got an upgrade, maybe I get the legendary version, you want to be able to transfer those back over. So let's say we take this one here. Let's say this is my new helmet. It's a legendary, it's orange, it's flashy, it's great. I've moved my upgrades over onto it via the honing materials. And then I'm like, okay, now I want these abilities. So you're going to click on this one. You can see where the arrow is pointing. If it's pointing this way, it's going that way. If it's pointing this way, it goes that way. Now, one thing, whenever you click this, it's going to pop up and say that all the skills that are on there are going to be deleted, and this gear can no longer be used as a material gear. So that's to prevent you from taking abilities from one place and then moving them onto other pieces of gear and trying to manipulate the system. So basically, this is going to move on to this, and I can no longer use this helmet to move these abilities around other than going back into the skill tree. So if we do that, now this helmet has all 3 of these abilities. So I could equip that, and I'm flying. Now, some min-maxy stuff here is if you want to have different sets, so maybe this set is your fighting against bosses, and then this set here, you can see how I have a different set of pants on this one. Maybe you want to have this one be your support set if you're, say, a gun lancer or a bard, or maybe it's your chaos dungeon set, so it's all your AoE abilities. You can build other pieces and then save a secondary set or tertiary set. If you buy via blue crystals, you can buy more slots. So you can really customize this. For me personally, what I've done is on my pants, I have some of the abilities I don't use too often. In fact, like Law of the Jungle, I don't use at all. That just needs to be replaced. But I use Shield Charge for damage, but I don't need it. It's just kind of added damage whenever I'm fighting maybe one solo Guardian raids. But in number 2 here, I have these pants that are very supporty. So they are my support pants. They keep me emotionally stable. But so what I do is in between, if I'm doing Chaos Dungeons, I'll come in here and I will just apply this set. And it'll overwrite, and there we go. Now I can go do my Chaos Dungeons, and then I want to come back and I'm min-maxing. I'm going to go do a Guardian raid with a bunch of friends, and I want to keep them alive. I come back in here and I'm like, okay, let me apply these pants the Nalasia's energy, the support abilities back onto it. You see, so it doesn't cost you anything to move those over. So whatever set you're currently wearing, you can kind of mix and match and move things back and forth. I know it might be a little bit complicated looking at it first time here, but we can kind of go through another group them real quick. Not to make the video too long, but just to give another example. So let's say I have... well, we'll go back in and we'll grab some pieces of gear again. So like this one here we just made, but let's grab like a chest piece. So this chest piece, look, it's got a bunch of Nalasia energy, and maybe I've got another Nalasia's energy skill in here somewhere. So normally you would have it tracked and you'd want to move stuff via that. So like this one's tracked. I know it has electric field, but I want that on my actual set, so I'm not going to break it for the video. So let's just say that we want sharp chain. So we'll remove sharp chain, 7,000 silver, move it over here. And then on this chest piece, let's say this is for my alternate version. I now know that one of my chest pieces has that. Oh, I went back out. So you go into inventory, and you're going to go to that second slot. And you can now move these over and save them in that inventory. So now I could use this on my main set. I can destroy this piece and turn it into materials if I want, because it's now saved in here. And if you want to build on another piece, you could just have another chest piece drop. Now, one thing to understand, though, you were saving it to a gear slot. So I can't move these onto a pair of gloves, so because this is the 3 into the body slot. So you have to be very calculated on how you're doing this. So if you're like me and you want to have 2 different sets, I've calculated that the pants will always have my abilities that is just extra damage in the first set, and in the second set is where I put the defensive one. But it's, again, on the pants because I can't move them from another place. I couldn't build it on the helmet and then move it to the pants. It is stuck with the slot of gear. So that is pretty much everything in a nutshell here. One of the big things, too, I think you can actually auto-dismantle based on having some of your skill tree. So skill tree notification, exclude equipment. I believe this one here is the one where you will exclude destroying ones that have the skill trees that you have marked. But need more testing on that one. I haven't actually done that. I hit tier 3 and I haven't wanted to dismantle anything because I've been freaking out. Because personally, I like to min-max. I'm probably going to have 3 to 5 slots. I'm going to have like my Abyssal, and then my support version, and then I'll have my Chaos Dungeon. You know what? Maybe I'll just buy one of those right now. There we go. This one will be Chaos Dungeon. Unfortunately, you can't actually name them up here, but you should be able to put them into your predetermined sets. So the integrated presets, I believe you can. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so you can't do skill trees in here, unfortunately. So that is something that you'd have to come and manually switch over by going into the inventory and moving everything over. So you just click each piece and you'd move it over. So that's the introductory quick kind of breakdown on how the skill tree system works. You can get a lot of power from this. So like Overcharge getting +1 level on my Surge Cannon, you can see Overcharge is now doing 68%. I believe its base was something like 60%. So I got 8% more damage on that ability just for getting +1 level. You can get +2 levels. I believe down the road you can get +3. I think at much higher item levels. But you can just increase your overall damage by 30% if you get it on every single ability. You can reduce cooldowns on your big so like for me, Shout of Hatred is my energy creator. It is a taunt. It is the most stacked skill on Gunlancer. So Quick Prep level 2 lowers the cooldown even further. So it's you have to pick and choose what is the best for your build, your play style, what ones to do. Because again, you have 6 slots and 3 ability upgrades per, meaning you can't do all 8 of the abilities you have equipped. So you have to either mix and match or choose 6 that you like. So that's about everything there. Cheers.